Welcome to How to Build a Profitable Nutrition Business. If you love nutrition and you love helping people and you want to be in the game long enough to keep doing that, then this is the podcast for you. Let's get into it. When COVID-19 hit a few years ago, Zoom's share price skyrocketed. And that's because all of a sudden we were delivering webinars and video content on end to people because this is the way we could grow our business or at least have our business function. But for most people, no one really taught them how to deliver an engaging, effective webinar. And that's why I'm really excited about today's guest, Jeff Brandeis. Jeff has a background in finance, but has worked in the corporate space for a number of years. Over this time, Jeff has mastered the art of delivering engaging presentations, which ultimately end up on webinar these days. If you're interested in learning how to create truly engaging webinars that both have impact for your clients and help grow your business, then this is the podcast for you. Let's get into it. Welcome back to another episode of How to Build a Profitable Nutrition Business. Today, I'm really excited to have a gentleman by the name of Jeff Brandeis from Engaging Webinars. And as the title explains, this is all about creating engaging webinars. Now, post-COVID, this is a particularly relevant topic, particularly for those in the nutrition and fitness industry, because webinars are a really popular medium to get content out there to our audience. And so I might hand over straight to Jeff because you've got a pretty interesting journey, Jeff. I hope this isn't too offensive, but as an accountant, we don't typically think of accountants as being engaging, but you're completely the opposite, aren't you? I've looked at some of your content online and you live up to what the title explains.
Thank you, Chris. Yeah, I went through a transformation of personalities in life. Yeah, I grew up in accounting and worked in the accounting field for about 5 years. And then I got offered this position in a software company, and it was to do presentations, but it was selling to accountants. So it was in my niche. It was like still coming out of my little narrow fold, because just like you mentioned, accountants are quiet individuals that kind of keep to themselves. And I told my wife that I was going to go for an interview where I had to go actually speak to people and do presentations in front of people. And she just looked at me and go, "You're actually going to talk to people?" And there was when I took the job, it was like a whole new revelation came to me. And I had the most fun in my career, really, those first 2 years, as I broke out of my shell, my true personality came out. And I'm still married to the same woman, but it was still just a great journey for me as far as finding out really more about myself and really what I was capable of doing.
Yeah, what a fascinating journey. So with the webinars or just presenting in general, have you done training on it yourself, or was it just something you've just refined and measured based on performance and your engagement stats and things like that?
Chris, I come from the corporate background. I worked in corporate for about 25 years or so. And yes, I was trained in how to do better presentations, how to do better demos, how to create more engaging PowerPoint slides, and how to do things and how to present yourself. But really what I've done is I've taken a lot of that training and I built our own webinar mastery course. But we've added another component to this, which is really how to get the audience truly engaged in a virtual environment. And I really hate to say this, but I'm just going to say it. If you get on any webinar today, 99% of them, they're all the same. Okay? Take away the person, take away the product, take away the call to action. They all start the same way. "Hi, I'm Jeff. Welcome to my webinar. Can everyone hear me? Raise your hand." Great. "And I'll share my slide. Can everyone see my slide? Raise your hand." Great. And then every once in a while, they'll put something and ask a question and go, "Where you from?" Put it into chat. But once they go into slide presentation, they're now what I call here in the States, they become a Hollywood square, okay? And they just become just like everybody else in the audience. People see their slides, and that's not what engagement is all about. It's not really how you get people to be involved in your webinar.
Jeff, you just basically, it was like I was listening to myself as I had to do a webinar recently, and it's like you've watched it. Were you on my webinar? Because it was
Yeah, I was.
the process I go through. Oh wow! So run me through it. Like, what are the key things? Because in So I'm a dietitian. I do enjoy doing webinars because I feel like it's a medium where I can help more people at once. It's not
Correct.
that sort of one-on-one, and I do the engagement part of it. But my wife gets at me because it's almost like I'm presenting to dietitians all the time. It is in my head, like I'm very evidence-based. I need to provide the evidence, and she says people don't care about the evidence, and I'm like, I do. It's got to be evidence-based, but it's boring on a webinar, or can be boring, you know. So I'm delivering it to people that don't have so much of a technical background, and I'm that death by PowerPoint almost. So please, Jeff, give me some advice. What are the key areas if someone's creating an engaging webinar? What should I be doing?
There's four keys, as I like to have them, as I call them, the four keys to webinar mastery. Okay. The first key is set the stage for success. And what I mean by that is when you start your webinar, start with a compelling hook, a powerful question, maybe a surprising statistics, a story that captures attention, that aligns with your audience. And so this begins to set the tone for the whole webinar just right up front. You're captivating them from the beginning, and it's not just diving right into your PowerPoint. If I can, the second key is to create dynamic content. So try to do it like a demo, storytelling, some visuals, and try to get some audience interaction here. So keep them engaged by breaking that, I'll call it monotony. You know, put some curiosity questions out there and get them to think about their own environment. And then the third key, as I like to put this, is get that audience involved. And people will say, how do you get an audience involved? There are creative things you could do. You could create a poll. You could bring a poll up on screen. You can create a survey. You can have some gamification or some quizzes. And that begins to create some real-time engagement with your audience. And we have some really great tools that we have at Engaging Webinars that helps promote this, and it makes it a lot easier than utilizing some of the Zoom functionality, which can be a little tricky at times.
You
But the
know,
fourth thing, we got,
oh, sorry, mate. I do see that. Like I see in Zoom, there's so many apps, and I just think, oh, it's beyond me. And I have seen, I was checking out your website, and I see the gamification, and that got me really curious because it can feel like you're talking to a brick wall at times. There's people that won't show their face on there, so it's just a blank screen. You can see some people will have it on, but it can feel like you're talking to no one at times. And so I love that idea of gamification. Just
yeah.
before you get on to the other key point, can you just like delve into what sort of things do you do there?
So in my openings, for example, and one of the key things that we use is what we call a stream deck.
Oh, yes, yep, that's come up. Yep, Stream
And,
Deck.
and you could buy this on Amazon or some other places, I'm sure, locally. And I'll get into what that does. But in the beginning, hey, look, I see so many people faces. It's great to meet you so visually so I can get to know you by name and by face. For those of you who don't have your cameras on, please turn them on because really at the end of our webinar today, I'm going to have a couple of lucky winners. I'm going to actually spin the wheel. And for those of you who have your cameras on, you'll be eligible to win. And so I'm encouraging my audience right off the bat to A, turn the cameras on so I can see them. And B, I'm throwing a little carrot out there that, hey, they stay to the end, there's a prize that they could win. And or multiple prizes, or I'll have a free giveaways for everyone that has their cameras on. And then I see some new cameras coming on. I see, hey, thank you so much for putting your camera on, Jane, Jim, John. And that's the other thing, calling people's names out. People like to be, you're building that relationship. You're speaking to them. It's like they are the only ones in the room. And that's really what's going to begin to build that trust that you obviously want to have when you're doing a webinar or just to meet the people.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. So sorry, and then you had a fourth key that I cut you off. My apologies, but
That's okay. So in the beginning, one of the also questions I try to ask is, what brings you here today? I want to learn more about nutrition. I want to learn about the new fitness routine. And you say, hey, we're here to learn more about engaging webinars. And at the end of the webinar, the fourth key is you want to transform them into their new world by buying your product or implementing your process. What is their world now going to look like? It's going to be better. They're going to have better engagement during the webinars. They're going to have smoother presentations. They're going to feel healthier. They're going to feel better. They'll have a better night's sleep. So you're trying to put them into that transformational stage when they actually purchase what you're selling, assuming you're selling it or you're informing. And that makes that transition, if you would, into the last bit of your presentation, which is the next, whatever your call to action is. Okay. And that's a missing piece I see in many webinars too. People in, hey, thanks so much for joining. I appreciate you being here today. Thank you so much. This, you got to have, hey, look, here's my calendar link on the screen. Get a QR code. You can get those for free. People have their phones. They can scan your QR code, book an appointment with me. Or if you have something online and you're ready to purchase, here's a link to buy now where that QR code is a buy now. Need a call to action. Subscribe to my podcast, subscribe to my free guide, something to get the people to, really at the end of the day, it's a two-way street, giving them information, but you want something back from them,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So you want
Yeah.
their email at least, but you want to get information as well.
Well, the idea behind my podcast, Jeff, is like health professionals, nutrition professionals, but health professionals in general are not really good at sales and business. Like we get into the industry to help people. And so we come from this background where it just feels like we're doing the wrong thing by asking for money. And so this is really useful because and I would do this when I would do a webinar, I would just give everything away for free. I'd just help as much as I could. And it's like, well, what's the sales process here? And I've learned over the years that you can only help someone more, the more engaged they are, the more they engage with your services. And the reality is if they pay attention, if you're giving everything away for free, they probably don't value what you're giving. So that's really useful advice just in terms of having that what's the word? Like you've got that sort of sales process and that goal in mind to keep helping them.
Yeah, you're just trying to bring them along in a very natural sequence without being pushy, without being overbearing. And if you take them, as I like to phrase it as well, they're in pain today.
Yeah.
Okay, they came to you webinar for a solution. What you want to do is get them to realize their pain that they're incurring. And then you want to bring them with that transformational aspect that you've done during your webinar, and then transform them as, hey, you follow our process, you follow what you're going to learn, you'll feel better, you'll sleep better, you'll do better. Webinars, you'll be a much smoother presenter, whatever it is at the end of the day. You want to get them from where they are today to where that you want them to be by using whatever you're selling them or you're talking about.
Yeah, right. So that moving away from pain towards pleasure. Jeff,
Yes.
with let's say like again for myself as a nutrition professional, there's the sales webinars, okay, like where you're kind of giving a little bit of information, but what about the people that have purchased and they're part of your program? Does the strategy change much? Obviously, there's not a call to action because they've already, or not a purchasing call to action because they've already purchased and they're in your program. But in terms of the engagement, is it much the same in keeping them engaged once they've paid and they're part of your program and you're delivering those webinars as part of the paid program?
So there, I think there's two aspects here, and you bring up a great point, Chris. So you have a webinar, hopefully for your new prospects, and then some of your existing ones will obviously join in as well. But sometimes, as I like to phrase it, is try to have an upsell.
Mm,
Okay.
right.
And this could be a two-part process. Hey, for those of you who are current clients, I know you're feeling great. And hey, Chris, you're a current user and you've seen great results. And if you know what they're going to be on, maybe it's a great opportunity for you to call them out and ask them, hey, do you mind being a testimonial for me on my webinar? And that's the best sales person you're going to have besides
Yeah.
yourself, obviously, is someone that's using your product. And uh, one of the things I think we all struggle with is having a one product, one price thing, so to speak, whatever it is. It's one SKU number or whatever you want to call it. But if we can kind of think about how our product lines and what we can actually add on to make that what I like to call the size of wallet larger for your client, and maybe they come in with a lower introductory offer and then you have a medium level and a higher level, and that way they can upgrade and they can still, and you can obviously get more revenue, your client gets more benefits, And especially in the nutrition world, there's so much I think you can package as a starter kit, the medium kit, and the higher level kit, and provide an incentive for them to continue to buy up.
Yeah, I like that. And I've had a guest on before who's a dietitian, Rebecca Jones. She's really big on the packaging and those high value offers. And so having that spectrum, if you like, of offers. Yeah, that's great. I like that, Jeff. And then what about like in terms of you just delivering a program for people that, let's say they're in your higher offer or whatever it may be, like is the engagement still the same? Like you're really looking to engage them, start with a story, like it's all part of that transformation process.
Yeah, you to me, the webinar, the template that we provide is the same. Engagement is key. Building that trust is key. An engaged audience, I guarantee you, will convert at a higher rate than a non-engaged one. Okay. It is so easy to pick up this thing these days. Okay. Turn that camera off that we have on right now, but to turn it off and just do email. So if you're not getting your audience involved with your chat, with chat functionality, bringing chat up on screen, doing a poll, having some fun, having some gamification, doing things that involve your audience, they will check out upon that expression. They will pick up their phone, they will do email, and they'll do something different.
Yeah. So it's got to be great content as well. What about, Jeff, what about like just from a personal point and being energetic? What if do you have any tips for, because yeah, sometimes I'm delivering a webinar in the middle of the day. I've got 4 kids. I've been up early. I'm doing things and I can be a bit flat. I'll have a mouthful of coffee. What tips have you got to try and energize yourself and really be engaging on the screen?
I notice, for example, we're both standing up.
Yes.
Okay. So standing up when you're doing a presentation will naturally get you a little bit more energized than sitting down.
Yeah.
Okay. So I recommend you stand up and freeze your hands. Just like, I mean, I talk a lot with my hands and my motions, but to me, this gets my energy level up. If you're sitting, you tend to slash, you tend to maybe even put your hand on your chin, and then you're going to start to muffle your voice. Sometimes before a webinar, I'll run outside, just do a little quick walk, just get my heartbeat going up a little fast to get some energy going. Yes, the coffee helps. I'm a coffee drinker for sure. It's just getting that energy level up so that if you're put that energy through your webinar, the people will feel it. They will, pardon expression, suck it in as well because they feel you, they see your energy, and that will get them excited about you and your product as well. But if you're just standing there and you're talking monotone and you're just talking about doing hey, this nutritional stuff is really going to help you, okay, that's not going to resonate with them, all right? Do that voice inflections and be able to smile and you get the people to like you and trust you because they see you energized, you believe in your product, you believe in what you're providing to them. They will feel it, they will sense it. So
Yeah.
get up, stretch yourself, pick your camera up as well. That's another thing I would recommend. So you're at a great eye level, okay? I'm about halfway. I'm probably a little lower than I'll lower myself. But so many times I see people's, no offense, you don't want to be looking at and talking to people where they see you and you're looking up at them and no offense, they're looking at your nose. You want to be square on. You want your eyes to be anywhere from halfway to 3/4 of the way up on your screen. Okay. And you don't want to be down here where you're like a little person and there's so much space out there. So
Yeah.
that's the other thing that I would really suggest from a presentation perspective.
That really occupy the space that's on that camera rather than let them be distracted by your background. Um,
Exactly.
Now, Jeff, what about for people? Obviously, it helps to be passionate about your topic, but what about for people who they might be new to it? So we've potentially got a lot of new graduate dietitians that listen to this podcast, and they may not be that confident at speaking. Have you got any advice for anyone? Because for me, just to tell you my story, like we had our dietitian business. I was the dietitian, my wife was the business brains behind it, basically everything else but the dietitian. And she was very very adamant that we had to do webinars, you had to be online and you had to be on social media, which was right, of course. But I didn't want to put my face out there. It was just that thing of I like my own privacy, but it was almost like she had a gun to my head and you're doing this, you're getting on there. And over time, I got better at it. I got more confident. Now I don't really care whether I'm on camera or not. You just get over that. But what advice have you got in terms of delivering a webinar for people that are just starting out?
You kind of answer it yourself. You kind of get over it.
Okay, okay. Have a wife that's got a gun to your head. Is that the?
Chris, it's almost riding a bicycle in so many different ways. You'll ride a little bit, you might fall down, you'll get back up again. The best thing I can tell you is build a great slide deck. Use that as your crutch, as your training wheels. Don't put too much on the slides. Practice before you do your first webinar. Get some feedback. That's what I do as a coach with people when we do webinar coaching. It's transforming yourself and getting the confidence of changing the screens, going to PowerPoint, coming back, going to your iPad. There's so much that you could be going on. And it's not just about your voice and your what you're saying. It's about all the ancillary things that you want pulled into your, because you said it earlier, you don't want to have death by PowerPoint either, where you just show PowerPoint, 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 PowerPoint. But we all start somewhere. We all crawled before we walked. We all fell down before we walked. We ride a bike, we fall down. You will live through your first webinar. You will survive through your first webinar. I really suggest and I still do it today. I record my webinars. I go back and listen to them. I watch them. And honestly, it's no different than any professional athlete, any profession. It's always about self-improvement. I'm looking for someone to help guide you to getting that improved process. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I have heard that before when like talking about presenting on stage to people, like record yourself listening to yourself. And I'm someone that spends a lot of time preparing. If I'm preparing a presentation or at a conference or even a webinar, whatever it is, my wife will have a go at me about how long I'm taking to get ready. But for me, who wasn't a natural public speaker, I got confidence out of knowing my content inside out and just knowing I'd rehearse questions that people might ask me and have an answer to everything that could possibly happen. And so I love that idea of recording back. I could never do it because I was so sick of everything I'd read that I'd recorded and just a couple of times I'd do it. But it's such great advice, isn't it? Because you pick up whether you're actually engaging or putting people to sleep or whatever it is. So that's really good advice.
I'll tell you this. I'm sorry.
No, you go, Jeff. Yeah.
So early in my career, I tell this story once in a while. I was young, one of my first live presentations in front of a group. I had to drive to where I had to go. It snowed the night before. So I wore my snow boots and I got dressed up. That was the time when we wore ties and jackets. We were professional. Got dressed in the morning and I was looking for my dress shoes and I go, uh-oh. So I wanted to wear my boots to my presentation because I had nothing else to wear. And on a break, and so I stayed behind the podium. And on the break, I just happened to be walking by some folks, and they didn't see me, and they were talking about, boy, that guy had to move away from that podium. Boy, is he as dry as dried paint? There's nothing coming out of him. So I got some honest, non-solicited feedback. Honestly, we came back in the afternoon, and yeah, I think my energy level probably dropped a little bit because I got kicked in the gut. But I walked away from that presentation going, Jeff, that will never happen again. I will never be some would say I would let the paint dry. That was what it was like listening to that guy. Okay.
Yeah.
I swore after that I would do more engagement. And no matter if I was wearing snow boots or if I was wearing flip-flops, didn't matter. I was not going to be on spot in a live place on stage ever again. Yeah, I got feedback,
There's,
but you take it and you move along.
there's nothing like the pain of a public embarrassment to make you motivated, is there? It can be inspiring. I've been to multiple presentations and watched speakers and webinars over the years, and the people that are good at it are just masters, and you walk away inspired from it. So it is really an awesome skill to have. particularly if you're trying to build a business or deliver, sort of have impact on your clients' lives. Yeah, what you're delivering is amazing, Jeff. So, mate, I'll wrap it up here because I'm conscious of keeping you for too long. How can our listeners get in contact with you or learn more? Because there's obviously a lot to learn, and this is your business, this is what you do. So, if you could just give us some details of how people could follow you or how they might take the next step.
Sure. Thanks so much for asking, Chris. You're welcome to actually go to my website, which is engagingwebinars.com. And you scroll down a little bit, there's actually a free guide that we put out there for all of our listeners to download. Is a guide to webinar mastery. So all you gotta do is put your name and email in, and a nice little 7-8 page guide will help you into your webinar mastery. And that's on there if you'd like to book an appointment. It's free consultation. Let's just talk. Let's see how I can help you improve your webinars or your presentations or your PowerPoints or anything dealing with doing a presentation.
I love that. Yeah, and we'll put those details in the show notes too, Jeff.
Or LinkedIn would be the other aspect of life. Obviously, with Jeff Brandeis on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
There's welcome to connect over there as well. And actually, if you go to LinkedIn, I'm actually doing a webinar next week on Thursday. I know it might be a little time zone challenging, but I'd be happy to provide anyone the recording of it if you would like to see it as well. I'll actually demonstrate some of the things that we actually do provide at engaging webinars.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. That'd be amazing. So that'll be great. So we'll put your LinkedIn details in the show notes, and that'll be perfect for people to check out.
That'd be awesome. Thanks, Chris.
All right. Thanks for your time, Jeff.
Likewise. Appreciate it.
Did you find this podcast valuable? There may be other nutrition professionals out there will also. If you like, share, and subscribe, it's going to help other nutrition professionals make an impact on the world just like you. Thanks.